In this presentation, I'm going to go into a little bit more depth about the Advanced Higher Geography course that takes you a little bit beyond the information given to you on the course options booklet. The Advanced Higher course is made up of 3 component parts. The first of these, and by far the largest in terms of marks awarded, is the project, which counts for 40% of the marks. The project builds on work that students have been doing all of the way since they entered Morrison's Academy, where they go into the field, conduct a project, gather data, and then process that data. And they'll be very familiar with this sequence of events. The fundamental difference at Advanced Higher is that they choose the title for their project. They choose the context. They choose whether it is a natural physical geography themed project or a human-based project. They have to develop and plan the whole thing themselves, deciding where to get their data from. And they have to write a 3,000-word project. This might seem quite daunting at the start, but actually in reality, as a lot of it's developed during class time and staggered across the whole year, supported by the teachers, it is seamlessly developed through a series of chapters over time. And as every chapter is submitted, as the project has a series of deadlines, feedback is given and the students are allowed to make the changes based on the feedback they're given to improve their project on a continual basis. The fantastic part of this project is not only does the student get the satisfaction of completing probably what is the largest piece of work that they will ever complete at high school, but they do so independently and they develop that vital skill necessary for university of working to deadlines and working at their own time, using their time effectively. There are a lot of skills developed through the project that are also complemented in the taught course that they will study during the year, as well as skills that are developed through the field trip, which I'll talk a little bit more in a second. So to give you an idea of the actual types of projects studied, there has been projects on crime. You can see sand dune profiling, property value variations, river engineering, people's fear and how that relates to rural and urban environments, and educational factors in Malawi. So these are all just a sample of some of the recent projects written by Morrison students. The second part of the Advanced Higher course is the essay. And the 2 parts together, the essay and the project, count for 2/3 of the mark, and they are what we call the folio. As with the project, this is an independent piece of work conducted by the student, both in class and in their own time. It is also a piece of work which they will hand in through a series of deadlines and drafts and will get feedback. It's an 1,800-word essay, and it's ideal training for a skill that they're going to be utilizing many times during their life at university. They'll not only learn how to write a university-style essay, but they'll also learn how to prioritize information, what's important, what information comes from quality sources versus poor quality sources. They'll understand the power of language used in sources, and that is used to influence us, as well as understanding that the person that writes an article has their own agenda, and they'll learn how to detect all of that and will be asked to write about those things in their essay. These are some of the titles that you can see written by students in recent years, ranging from GM crops to fracking, to cultural appropriation in North America, to restoring animals that have become extinct in Scotland, and the impact of the Commonwealth Games. As I said at the start, the student gets to choose their own geographical issue on which they wish to write. The final part of the course is the exam. And a lot of the teaching time during the year, when we're not looking at developing the project or the essay, is spent around teaching the relevant skills that lie behind the exam. The exam is made up of 3 components. The first one, map interpretation, will be very familiar to the students because it's similar to the applied geographical skill topic at Higher. And it just takes that topic a little bit further. The second is gathering and processing techniques. Students will have had some experience both at National 5 and Higher of processing data into a range of different graphs and maps, and they'll take that a little bit further, learning about a much wider range of graphs and maps, as well as other techniques that can be used to present information in geography. The final part is geographical data handling, which makes up 40% of the exam. That's more about analysing information and interpreting what results show. The one thing about the exam is it will all be underpinned by a context that the student will not be aware of in advance, and they will have to use the skills that they've learned in class during the year in order to answer the questions. Now, to train the students both for the exam as well as the project, we conduct a range of trips. These range from the very popular 3-day trip to the Isle of Cumbrae, where we stay at a FSC field centre, and the students engage in a range of field experiences, learning how to gather data and processing it. And this is important both for their own project as well as for the actual talk course and exam. We also have a trip to Tentsmuir Beach near St Andrews, as well as going into St Andrews, where they also develop a range of skills on data gathering. We also conduct some local area field studies in the Crieff area. This practical field work is vital in geography. It's very much part of what a geography course involves, and it underpins the course that we teach the students. Another aspect of the course is because there's much smaller groups of students doing advanced higher, the students get a much better experience of learning. They form a tighter relationship with each other as well as with their teacher, partly because they undertake field trips together. And it's the ultimate experience in the geography course. It's a different way of learning with a different set of pressures, encouraging students to mature quite rapidly, largely because they're conducting independent field work and independent work at school. So to sum up, what does an advanced higher course in geography give you? Well, it teaches you about learning independently. It's built around a 3-day trip as well as a series of other field excursions. You learn a little bit like you do at university, how to write an essay. You learn how to organize and plan yourself for a field trip. You get to choose your own essay title and project title. And most importantly, and what makes a lot of students choose it, is there's actually very little knowledge taught in the course. Rather, it's a very skills-heavy course. However, if choosing this, you should bear in mind it does involve you independently producing a 3,000-word project and a 1,800-word essay, although you are, of course, supported by your teachers, as well as being given time in class to complete those 2 pieces of work. So that concludes my presentation on advanced higher geography.